Howdy folks. So the Wizard's Tower, although Mage's Tower, I've realised I've called it Wizard's Tower on some platforms, I've called it Mage's Tower on another. The fantasy bods will be raging that I can't make up, nor do I know the difference between a mage and a wizard. I'm sure somebody will tell me it is the internet. Yeah, so I've done no work on this since the last stream. I have kept it strictly stream, and I'm fine with that. Done other things. I've done some other designs, some of which I'm not going to show. I'm keeping them secret because I'm building them for a little bit of a bigger video that I think's coming. That possibly be tied to a crowdfunder. And I'm leaving it at that. So don't get too upset. But we're just doing the Wizard's Tower today. Not that anybody cares. But I care. I'm excited. And if I'm excited, then that's good. That means I'm doing the right thing with my life. Yeah, so we need to get on with this Wizard's Tower. I think I'd kind of like, maybe, if not completely finish it today, I think I'd like to get it to the point where I feel like I can do some test prints tomorrow. Just test prints will then inform how I feel about it and what changes I think need to come. But ultimately, I've realised I've made a mistake. I've deleted the cone I had in the middle, thinking I didn't need it, but of course I need it, because if you look at this, let's just go into section analysis mode here. There's a lot of hollow space in here, but that's easy enough to fix. I can add a cone back in. So the sun has risen, the moon has set, vice versa. It's 4 days since I did this, 3 days, sorry, since I did this Wizard's Tower model, which if you weren't there for the stream on Monday, there is a MakerWorld competition that is, well, let me just change something. I've just realised I made a mistake here on my little, I have a little control pad, you know, like a little stream deck. It's not actually a stream deck, but I have on it the controls to change my OBS scenes. I've now also started programming it to have quite a lot of commands for plasticity, which is great, except I just realised that when I'm on a stream in Plasticity, I don't have any of my OBS controls. So let me just disable the Plasticity profile so I can get my OBS controls back so we can actually change... there we go, cool. Right, so if we just go to Chrome. This is me, by the way. If you just joined the stream for the first time, Abstracted Design on MakerWorld. This is all my work. These are all my things. We'll talk about them later. But what we're doing today is we're designing a Mage's Tower, continuing to design a Mage's Tower, because it was inspired by this competition, which is the Old World Magic Design Contest. There's some great stuff in here. I'll say the same thing I would say. I'm not going to win, but it's not about winning. It's about getting better at what we want to do, and that is designing in 3D. Wow, Dogzilla, the Ultimate Fusion, is still on the front page. So is there not that many? It was on the front page the other day. And that odd. That's like 4 days later. And oh. Right, so this guy's got a theme. Fat Catzilla. I would love to know how these were modelled, because I have a distinct feeling these might be AI modelled. But what do I know? And I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't accuse when I do not know, and ultimately AI's here, it's not going anywhere, so you just all have to live with it. Yeah, so I want to design something for this competition. So my main theory was this. I did some MakerWorld, not some MakerWorld, it wasn't Mid-Journey, but some AI image prompts, just for some ideas for Wizard's Towers. And came up with, let's get the stream images. These were some of the ones I had, and I really like this idea, which was this large crystal tower, which in my head lore, the headspace, the lore which exists inside my cranium, these crystals are like natural things in the whatever world this is set in, where the centers of power occur with the magic, and the mages reside inside the crystals. So it's this fusion of these, you know, these naturally formed magic crystals, but they're still going to need they're still going to need people things like doors, walkways, things like that. So it's a little bit of a mix of like this crystalline structure with then like some people things like balconies and a door, etc. So that's kind of what I was going for. I kind of think it is what I've been going for. This crystal area is going to be all a transparent PETG or a transparent PLA, and there will be mounted in the base the wireless RGB from bamboo, so it'll cycle through colours, which I think could be really cool. I have quite high hopes for this. We'll see when it is printed. You know, no great design survives first contact with a slicer, so we'll see what it comes out with. But a thing in the intervening days, and I was saying a little bit this on the stream on Monday, I'm not feeling the scale. I want this to feel like a gigantic crystal. And the way I was trying to pull scale back was to make the door here very, very small, to be like a reference point for this is what people scale is. You know, so that could still be a massive door. But I don't know, I'm still feeling, even with these little things that we designed, such as, you know, this little like balcony area with a blocked out entrance here and a blocked out like observatory, I'm still feeling a little bit like this messes the scale up, and that this makes it feel much smaller because your head kind of goes, well, that's house sized. So I think in my folder here, which you will see is named House, I think what I might want to do, I'm going to try scaling this down quite a lot. And it will mean that I can't go to the level of detail I wanted to go to on it. But I just feel like doing something like that, scaling that building down, really changes the scale. Like now that this all feels much bigger. To me anyway. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to scale this down, and I think what we'll do is we'll design the roof tiles. We'll start adding a bit more detail. So those, I'm actually going to get rid of those. They were instances of this block here. And the reason I'm going to do that is the instances don't scale correctly with the rest of the building. But not because of the way I had it set up. But it's fine. We can just replace that in 2 seconds. But I already feel a lot better about that scale now. So like, compared to that. So I think it's a goer. I'm going to roll with it. I'm going to take the artistic decision to just live and let live. Let's just go for it. And I'm going to add in those again. Those little braces, which just act as like surface detail, but then they also kind of act like little supports for this overhang here. Can I get away with? I don't know if I haven't. So these are using the instance tool in Plasticity, which I actually only started using recently. I'm just wondering, can I mirror instances? You can, and then will that mirror? Oh, but it actually mirrors, which you would expect when you've mirrored. So yeah, instances are really cool. So basically they're all instances of this central main part. So as you can see, any changes we make to that one, super changes them all, which I just think is so cool for like lots of things. And like, it's really good when you've got stuff that you want to like tinker with visually. So you might have hundreds of them radially arrayed. You're like, well, I just want to try a different surface, a different angle on one of these faces, or maybe an inset or something like that. And you can do it. So say like here, you know, you can bring things right back. It's just so cool. I think it's such a good feature. It's one of those ones that as soon as you've got it, you're like, God, how did we deal with Plasticity when it didn't have this? Well, we did, and I did. I've only used it twice. So it's not as if it's like, but it's actually getting yourself into the mindset of going, all right, there's this new tool, I'll use it. So first things first, I want to add a little bit of detail. I think we're past the blockout stage. And I think a bit of detail wouldn't go amiss. And I think I'm going to start with the roof. So I'm just going to isolate the roof. Now, shall we go to my favourite place in the whole world, which is the internet? We shall. And shall we go to Google and just look at... I'm looking for inspiration for tiles. So, fantasy roof tiles. It will surprise nobody that they are very similar to tiles. But this is cool. I like this. So these are like pretty simple shapes. Yeah, so these are pretty, so this will be a textured bump map rather than models, but I'm not actually using the item. I'm just looking at the tiles. Stop rotating so I can look at you. So really all we need here is a flat rectangular shape with the bottom curved off. And then we can array them, do a copy of a row up above and offset it by 50%, and then array the two of them up until we have what we want. And then we can probably just come in and do a little bit like picking the odd tile and making it a bit thicker to give it a bit more of this higgledy-piggledy look. I've said higgledy-piggledy on every stream for the last like 2 weeks, I think. Which, I don't think I've said higgledy-piggledy prior to streaming for years. So we need to be careful here though, because we're talking scale here and we can obliterate our scale. We can obliterate the scale by making these tiles massive. So this is going to be a texture that's, I'm not even really sure how visible it's going to be. But I'm going to take a look at the scene. I'm going to absorb it into the mind space. And then I'm going to isolate it again and try and remember what my scale should be. We're in. So I'm actually just going to do the tile off the roof for a minute, because the roof's got a bit of a curve on it. It just makes it a bit awkward to design the tile itself. So I'm going to say that's okay for the tile, the size of it anyway. What do I think? Probably one. You know, I'm actually going to not take a standard fillet. I'm going to take a curve like this. So I can just have a little bit more control over how it, effectively how the end is. And it's not, just realised I've had it on, left it on Chrome. So this is the tile shape, the silhouette. And I think what we'll effectively do is we will... How thick should we make? Oh my god, that's 0.2 millimeters. Wow, we are really... So hang on, what actual width is this tile? So that... This might be far too small. I mean, that's going to be... Oh, that's a millimeter. Yeah, I'm not going to get away with that. Although it is just meant to be a texture. It's just meant to be a texture. So I am going to stick with doing... I am just going to stick with it and see how we get on. And what I'll do is I won't boolean the tile. I won't boolean all the tiles together. So if when I print it, I'm like, that was a gigantic waste of time trying to keep the tiles small for scale. Come in and effectively just scale the tiles up. So let's do a rectangular array of this and let's bring it to there. And then we'll just do as many as we need to get it to where we want, where they're touching effectively. And I think I will actually make these instances. So if I decide that I want to make changes, I can make changes. If I want to then start, oh no, you can't you? You can still move them on the right. I was just thinking if I did them all instances, then I would struggle to make different heights for each of the tiles to make them look a little bit better. But I think that's fine because we can just, rather than, what I was thinking would be that I would like grab the top surface and drag them up and down, but all I can just do is effectively move the tile up and down. And I'll actually do that before I array. So where are we? So we are on the middle. So let's just grab all of these and mirror those across. Interesting. Right. So what I'm thinking of is if I group, oh, let's go to that curve first because that's already annoying me. Curve, rectangle. Cue me needing that in 10 minutes. So let's group these. So Control G. Oh, I'm putting my keys on. Put my keys on for you. Can you tell I decided like literally 10 minutes ago to start streaming? Let me just get key viz up for you. There you go. You got my keys now. So what I might, yeah, let's first of all do the offsetted version of these. So if I just grab all of them. Oh, interesting. So you can't. That's because I'm isolated. These tiles are going to be pretty small. But that's okay. Group at here, group 4. Select. Right. I could have sworn yeah, you can. All right, so you can't duplicate an instance. So that's what's happening there. I was thinking, what I'm trying to do is do Shift D to duplicate this entire row. You can't duplicate an instance. Interesting, right? That's fine. So we can just duplicate the solid. So I think what I want to do is effectively bring this so it's in the middle of the next tile over. And then bring it up so it's very slightly offset so we see the edge. So we can see this bump here. Now that's going to be like 0.2 millimeters. So I really do think this is not going to be that visible on the print, but it's still texture. And I just think, what else are we meant to do? And just have it blank. Well, I'm not doing that. So if we just bring that across here like that, and then let's make those instances. Let's let me duplicate those instances. So maybe I'm wrong in my inference that you can't duplicate instances. Maybe it was just I had the wrong thing selected there. But right. So now let's get all of these all in the same group anyway. No, they're not. So let's get all of these in that roof group. Thrilling folder management streams. High engagement. This is what all the advertising and sponsors want, is high engagement folder organization streams. So let's unisolate. let's... Right, let's... I'm thinking what I want to do is I want to add a curve that will let me linearly array this setup, but follow the little curvature we've got of this roof. And I think the best way to do that is like literally just to draw a line, bring it proud of the surface, shift R, and not shift I because I want a curve. I don't want to imprint. And then what, by just pressing I there, we've got this line that was projected from this onto that surface, which gives us this nice curve that follows the surface of the roof. So now, if we do a curve array, I was thinking it's not a radial array. There, we can do this. You see, now. Let me think. So what's happening there is, well, first of all, we need to get these all. I think I've made this much harder for myself just making these. In fact, I'm just going to realize these instances because it is adding a bit of complexity with moving them, because when you've got a instance, it moves related to the thing it was instanced from, which can be a bit. They're all sheets, right? That didn't help either. Right, let's get back to basics with this. We've messed this roof up. We've messed this roof right up, but it is fixable. I'm going to bring this into this group too, so it's easier to isolate. I'm going to call it roof. Just want to isolate everything so I can get like an easy look at it. Right. You know what? I might even just do this manually. This probably will be better rather than doing an array. So if I just, well, let's Boolean all these together so it's one item. Not actually touching. Oh, they're not. Look at that tiny gap. We really did mess this up. Right. Linear array. You. Come here. All the way there. And are we touching? We are touching. So, let's Alt X that across there. Just make a mate. Now, move them on the Y. Cracking. So, I think rather now than try, there's a place. Is it Control D? Yeah. So let's just pick point on this face. I never use this tool, so excuse me if this is completely. Yeah. So. X, Y, Z. No. Right, let's just Shift D, duplicate this, and bring it up to there. And then let's bring this one up. And then move it on the X, just to offset it. And I'm going to keep doing this until I'm at a position that I've filled the roof. And then once I've filled the roof, I can push some of them out and curve them slightly with the curvature of the roof. Right, great. So let's get this going here. Right, what should we set? Actually, yeah, let's set a construction plane. Plane from selection. And then let's bring these back. And now we should be able to move these in relation to the plane, the construction plane. I'm going to bring this right in because it doesn't need to be that high. I want these to look messy. I don't want these tiles to be like perfect. It's meant to have that like kind of like a little bit like World of Warcraft, you know? There's not like a tile that's straight in World of Warcraft. Well, I've got lots of duplicates here. And I want to start like tightening up the curve at the top. I'm going to add some sort of like ridge tiles on there. Now, I'm not loving it. I'm not loving it if I'm honest, but I'm going to go with it. Am I? Do you know what? I need to get used to the fact that when I'm streaming, sometimes it's just stuff I don't like. And I just, see, normally what I'd do was I'd just be like, no, I don't like that, I'm not doing it. But then sometimes on a stream, I feel a little bit like, oh God, I can't redo this for the third time. But I want to, so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to try, I don't know why the place tool wasn't working. I'm going to give that another go. This is the wonderful thing about streaming is I get to learn in real time the tools that I use every day, but there's a difference between using them on a stream. So let me just try this. I'm going to turn X-ray off because, as I always say, it drives me mad. Right, so what I'm going to be able to do is pick this and do Control D, and then pick this face. So where is the like, that's the wrong face it's picking. I thought what I was meant to do is when you pick this face in the bottom, it then pushes this face against the surface, but it's kind of the opposite. F, flip. Oh, not that way though. Z up, Y up, X up, there you go. That's absolutely, well, I mean, there's one way around it. Let's pick the other side. But then that does the same. Yeah, that is odd. Well, I don't know why it would do. Turns out I don't understand how the layer still works. I've used this before. I wonder if it's because it's curved. Doesn't really matter. Let's bring that to there. So it's in the middle. And then I'm going to do what I did before and add a line. I think what I want is, but like what I was saying initially, use a curve array. So let's just do F curve array and pick this. Right, let's just get it so it's where they're touching. we can do is we can just give some of these a little bit of a variance in... Right. Actually, I should do this once I've arrayed them the other way, otherwise I'll have to do them all again. I mean, let me just be honest here. What are we doing? We're pulling this out. That's 0.2 millimeters. That's one layer of filament. So it's really not worth doing this. Like the pulling them out. He says while he continues to do it. So what I'm now going to just do is I'm going to grab every other one and do the little offset. No, every other one. Let's grab this on the X and just bring it there like that. I think every one of these probably actually needs to be a little bit taller, doesn't it? Like back. Yeah, let's just do them all. What I just want to make sure they make contact, so when I boolean them, cool. If they don't make contact and you try boolean, well, there is no boolean to be booleaning when they're not making any contact, so now we can pick these and go on a... Don't need that many, but let's just go there and then bring the number right down. Yeah, and then you have to just pick some tiles, like start to pull out, just to give it some variation, because it obviously it's just the same thing done over and over and over and over again and over again. I'm definitely going to have RSI when I'm older. I mean, the amount of clicks. I mean, at least I'm not like a StarCraft 2 player where I'm crippled by the age of 14 because I've played so much StarCraft 2 that my fingers have atrophied to chalk and dust. But Plasticity probably isn't far shy. So I'm just picking random ones here just to give a bit of variation. So yeah, I think that's starting to look a lot more good. I'm going to do some of these as well though, because the top row is looking a bit. Right, now where are these in my inspector? The outliner. It's not the inspector. It's the outliner. So I'm going to duplicate them and I'm going to group them. I'm going to call them tiles. I'm going to take the originals. I'm going to boolean them. Yes, it worked. Super duper. Now I'm going to mirror that over. Great. Boolean them. And then let's just chop off the excess. So can we just take these lines and do that? Sometimes with curves, which they are. Can't, but... Right, we can. Oh. Did we not? We did. Okay. Great. So now, see, do you know what? It just looks so much better immediately. Like there's just so much more. It's just texture, isn't there? Like nobody's saying it's you know, it's like perfectly accurate, but we're talking about a Mage's tower built in a crystal in a fantasy world which doesn't exist anywhere other than my head. So I'm not going to get too hung up on. In fact, no, I am going to get really hung up on whether it's realistic or not because it's my head. It's the only existence I've got. Yeah, I like it. That looks really good. I'm going to try and get away with just insetting that a little bit, just to give a bit of a lip. And then this was that silly little, like, I was inspired by like Viking ships and like longboats and stuff when I was designing this little bit and like longhouses. And I added this little spur of wood that was coming off the house, but I realise now that that is absolutely horrendous for printing. So I'm going to do this instead. I'm just going to like put it on a better angle. We can pretend that all along we meant it to be that angle. And we can just forget that I've documented on the internet live that I'm making it up as I go along. I've done a Boolean and we are calculating. You can see down here. Yeah, it didn't work. So can we, I think they might not actually be touching, are they? Yeah. So let me just thicken this up a little bit. Sometimes when you do a Boolean, if they're only just touching, yeah, see that's worked there. So if they're like either like they're just touching, sometimes the Boolean calculation fails. So sometimes if you ever get that where you're like, I don't know why this Boolean's failing, just try and move something like a millimetre. Quite often it says you're right. Right, so that is a roof, and that probably will be an individual part that we print as of itself. So let's just call that roof. This is one of those ones where I said on the first stream that I'm going to design, and then the inevitable comes when, because I don't want to do this you needing an EMS, so it'll be lots of individual parts that you print off separately. That takes a lot of time sometimes to then start breaking the model down. I think as it happens, this won't need that much doing there because you could just print it. This is the bed, so it prints upwards. But I'll do the breakdown probably off stream because it is very boring for me. And it, to be completely honest, it's a lot of me just staring at the screen, like. Which, you know what, you're watching the stream, you might think that's better quality content, but I do enjoy it, so it's not happening. So let's do a little bit of, no, just a little bit of detail in here, just to add something. So I've just done an offset. Let's do another offset. I was getting a text message there, I was excited. It's just my girlfriend who's literally in the room next door to me. So. I'm going to just go with a, you know what? Would a wizard they probably wouldn't, well, it doesn't have to be, a cross doesn't have to be religious, does it? I was just thinking a wizard wouldn't really have a religious symbol, but speaking as one very informed by wizards. But basically all I'm doing is just adding a bit of detail. Lots of empty spaces make for a boring design. So I just find that when you've got little bits like this, sometimes it's just good to like fill it with stuff, which is where I think plasticity, just you enter that total flow state where you just like click in and fill it in and click in and fill it in, and it's why I think stuck with me, Plasticity, because I just find it so satisfying. See again, more detail. Now what width are these now we've scaled down? Because I do have to keep a realistic grasp on. So it's 0.5 millimeter wide, so I'm not going to get any detail in that. But you know what, for the render, when I share it on social media, it will look better when it's got a chamfer on it. So let's just chamfer these, just add a bit of an edge. The next big thing I need to address is the stairs and the rocky outcrop that this whole thing is mounted on. Bit of a fillet on the top here, a chamfer. Chamfer there. But actually, we take that chamfer in, we can get rid of any real concerns with overhangs. I'm going to actually do something here as well, just for a bit of detail. So if we select these surfaces and we press offset, we can basically add an internal face. So you can bring them out like that, and then how much better does that? How cool is that? Like, just adding that detail in dead easy to all of those at once. So down for these instances. They're really, really cool. You know, I'm going to go back on Chrome here for a second and just see if I can get some inspiration for something here. In that space. So effectively we're looking at like wizards. You know, I'm just going to take Mage's Tower. It's the problem now with not that I got anybody to blame, because I mean, obviously I've used AI concepts myself here, give me inspiration. But oh, look at this, this is cool. Oh, that's really cool. Just like, yeah, I could do something like that, where I just like make like crisscross timber boards. Right, let's open that in a new tab. Let's just do Mage's Tower. Yeah, it's just gonna all gonna be, wow, there's a staggering amount of Minecraft here. It's not really the tower that we're interested in though, is it? It's more, it's the like the keep, like the entrance. So should we say wargaming? Because I always find wargaming's quite a good thing to include when you're looking for reference, because it's like obviously miniature scale. So like you end up with stuff that I feel like quite aesthetically fitting. I really should design more wargaming stuff. Like I love designing stuff like this, and it's just, do you know what it is? It's you know, when you've been doing something for so long. I've been doing MakerWorld for 18 months, and obviously I do a lot of stuff that's interior decor and stuff. It's so out of the wheelhouse that you get scared and you think, oh no, my patrons and the people who support me are not going to like this. But then you're like, yeah, but there is 600 models in there. Like maybe doing some of this would actually get you some more from a different area, which could be really useful. So I really need to not be so hemming myself in on a singular style of thing. This is cool. Just good inspiration for the doorway. I know that's a window. I'm not an idiot, but I just the arch with the stones. I think we'll do that. And I think I might just do something like this with some like crisscross beams. Let's actually go back to Plasticity this time. So, can I isolate this? Can. Right. let me think, what's the best way to do this? So if we just want to do beam like that, and then do you want, was that 64, that angle? Well, you know what would be a better idea? Rather than guessing, do a straight line, do a linear array, 3, 4, just for how many you want. So it would go, yeah. So let's go from the top to there, to there, to there. Then can we offset these? Yeah, let's offset those like that. And it doesn't matter that there's fillets on there with it being the offset, because then you're not going to see that. And let's just trim off the nonsense lines. Oh, what's... Oh. Oh, interesting. Oh, right, yes, because... Right, okay. It's because the mirror wasn't... There we go. X, F. Yeah, if you ever mirror anything and you don't want to be on a... You want to set the point, you can just press F and it effectively, it's called freestyle mode. It says, however, it's not actually taking the, there we go. So let me just isolate these because I need to actually make these, just cap them off so I can extrude them. What can I... I'm going to bring this down a little bit because I don't like the fact that you can see pointy edges there. Maybe not that much because it cuts into that nice paneling I did there before. It's not central, is it? It's almost as if I did a freestyling. That is the centre. You know what I'm going to do? Cheat. Do this side. Oh, do you know, it's not, it's the braces that are not central. It's this that's not central. So that is interesting. So what? I'm gonna have to get on the documentation because I don't now know why. Oh, it's because I'm moving the middle one, so you can move the instance independently, but if you move the thing that is instanced from relationally, they all change. Okay, makes sense. Let me just get rid of all these curves because they do me head in. All right. So I just adds a little bit of detail. Do I like the detail though? I don't know. I do not know. One second, I'm going to have a sip of coffee. I don't know why I mute the microphone because the big money's in the ASMR slurping streams, isn't it? Not the dorky Mage's Crystal Castle streams. I feel like that's one step away from OnlyFans though, starting to do ASMR flirting streams. Right. So, You know, I'm going to get rid of every curve. This is so rogue, and you should never do this. Get rid of every single curve. Because I simply don't need them. Right, I look so much better than when we started. So good. Right, now the next bit is this thing. So let's, I'm not sure whether isoprams work this way. No, they don't. But that's fine. So, let's just isolate this again. Minimal visual clutter, maximum achievement. So what I'm thinking of here is like a brick archway. But obviously brick archways, my initial thought was, oh, I'll just use isopram, split the face, and then I'll duplicate it, but it does that, which is not how brick arches work. Brick arches are obviously all, you know, each brick is like this. Not just straight up. They're more like, look like timber cladding. So the way I'm going to see about doing this, I'm just thinking out loud, is to do a line with a radial array and then do loads of them until I get, I need straight lines here, because that's where it'll transition from curved bricks to real, but to, I shouldn't discriminate and call normal bricks real bricks and the other ones curved. All bricks matter. But if we have it so we've got it there, then we can just now have square bricks here. And what we can do is if I imprint all of these lines onto here, it's a bit chaos at first. Just hide all of them. So then we end up with here some faces that we can pull out. So you pull out that and you're like, right, well, that's the first brick. Pull this one up a bit here. Maybe pull this one out. Now what happens with pulling is it'll take that face. Can I just do none for the raw mode? Yeah, I can. So that's actually quite a good it's quite a good thing that very often, if you notice down here in this bottom corner, we've got these, like, for every tool there's effectively some parameters down here, and I never really talk about them, but grow mode is a good one for pull, because say if you have these faces here next to each other and you want to pull this face, well, if you just have it on normal, which is moving is what they call that mode, when it hits the face of the other one, it just effectively, see how it's now merged all of those into one face. It's just going, you want to keep pulling all the faces with it, which sometimes really, well, most of the time is actually really, really helpful. But I'm not sure what's fixed do. Yeah, so fixed stops the face. So that's if you wanted to make something flush. But because I want to have these all, I'm going to use the word higgledy-piggledy. I'm going to pick none, and then basically it just ignores if it's coming up against something that's not, you know, that normally it could pull the face with it. Press none there. I think ultimately a good thing to do here as well would be to take some of these faces and, like, not the keystone, which is the top one, because that should be a set size. He said with great confidence, spoken like a true medieval craftsman. I mean, what do I know if the keystone should always be standard size? The answer is I don't. But I feel like it would be, because it's the load-bearing stone, isn't it? So it'd be weird if it wasn't symmetrical, because ultimately, like, then the load isn't symmetrical. But I think might do is just pull a couple of these in. So this is one of the cool things with, like, pulling the push tool. Like, it's really, like, good for, like, faces which are not necessarily totally planar. You can get rid of all these now, these lines, because I don't need them anymore. Delete redundant topology. So make the keystone very prominent. Maybe pull this in, this one in a bit. Pull a bit. I'm just trying to make them a little bit varied from each other. Pull this right down and then pull this one right down as well. And we start adding some chamfers and stuff just to give them a little bit more detail. But then we can come to this face here, do the ISO param, set it on horizontal. It's 4. Same over here. You can kind of just do a similar thing again. I do feel like I'm messing my scale up again here, but I don't really... I think it's one of the hardest things with 3D modelling buildings and terrain, especially when you want epic scale. I don't mean epic scale as in like the miniatures version of epic scale. I mean just large. One detail can just destroy the feeling of scale. I'm going to bring that up so as it happens it just helps support that as well. Again, a bit of a cheat, but now I'm just going to add some ISO params along the top here so we can pull these bricks out as well so they're not just all perfectly planar on that outside curve. Again, just to give them a bit of the old higgledy-piggledy. Pretty good. Normally I would mirror, but because the whole point of what I'm doing here is to make it look unsymmetrical. But that said, you could still mirror it and then just go in and do the faces. It would save you having to do this step, which is doing all these ISO params. But I'm here. I'm in the flow. I'm doing it. This is what they call the flow state. It isn't, because if it was in the flow state, I couldn't talk. Just want to add some more facets to it. I mean, really, I think, and I've done stuff like this before, I've actually modelled a brick itself and then placed the brick using that placement tool that for some reason wasn't really playing game before. Which obviously let you do less just like blocks. Now, I just want to add some bottom chamfers on a lot of these because just to help with the... I really just don't want to have any supports if I can get away with it, which I won't. I know that already from some choices I've made, but at least the best I can do is minimise. And also chamfers just, they add that like edge detail that like catches light and stuff, so... I'm intentionally not really taking any care with these fillets because I just want it to be as non-uniform. Now, do I need to do the same on the inside? You know what? It wouldn't be the worst idea. Maybe it's not for all of them, but just for a couple, just like do stuff like that. Definitely for the keystone, because that's kind of like the like anchor part, isn't it? So I maybe don't want it that much, but you can then put a chamfer in, which will, yeah. Okay, and just to break up the Because it doesn't feel like stones, does it, when it's like that on the inside? It's like, all right, this is... It just seems like, well, modelled rather than built. Which I think is the best thing you can try and go for. It's like, well, is this... If this is a built thing... Ooh, that feels a bit weird, that going that way, though, doesn't it? I can definitely get away with some of these here. Turns out I'm just doing all of the inside. So people in the chat, do you use Plasticity, or are you just interested to see what the hell Plasticity is? Because quite often a question I get is, what are you using? You know, what's this modeling software? So I'm always interested to know if people are actually aware of it. Because I wasn't aware of it. I actually discovered it completely. I think it was ChatGPT or something like that put me onto it 2 years ago. It's doing everything in Onshape, which is a great app. But God, I really enjoy modelling in Plasticity. Let's bring that one out because I feel like they should be level. Whoa, 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 whoa. Right, well, that speaks to more of a gigantic block door. No. I was just gonna say what happened to my window, but it was up there, wasn't it? The one that was the window I did. Let's add in a door, like an actual door. Because if we can sell it that this is a tiny little door, then that sells the scale of everything else. God, just excuse me while I just randomly spy just to fill it. I think I've got an addiction. I am addicted to the fillet. Oh, I don't need to duplicate that. That's stupid. Right, pull this out a little bit. Let's just go back to the old Chrome. Just want to have a little bit of inspo for I shouldn't make that sound on the microphone, I'm sorry. Large timber door. No, that's not what I mean. What am I thinking of here? Large timber door. Large timber. That's not how you spell medieval. Yeah, this is the type of thing I was thinking of. Just the postman's coming. I think he's bringing me a present today. So let's just do stripes and then some stripes to indicate timber and then some cross beams. Let's go back to isolate mode just to... do quite a lot of, yeah, I'm going to do quite a lot of little bits because it then feels more like smaller boards. Like if I only did like 3 or 4 little bits there, then you'd be back to that issue of scale. I think it should probably even be even smaller than that, if I'm honest. I'm going to make them thinner. Because if you want to sell this as gigantic, you want timber boards to be very, well, thin, don't you? Yeah, let's just do this. And then I'm just going to pick alternate ones. Is there a select? I was hoping what we were going to have here was a checker. Nah. What I'd really like is to be able to select a face that has lots of faces on it. God, it's not an even number. Whatever. Be able to checkerboard select like you can on Blender. And just make all these different, just to give it a bit of that more hammered together vibe. And then we can add the cross braces and stuff in. So I'll just check Chrome myself rather than. So then it's got so let's pick this line here and duplicate it and then offset it. Let's offset it to here. And what I want this to be is the start of like the metal like framing. So I'll just pull that in. And these curves here, let's just get rid of them. And pull that in a little bit more. So to sell this, to sell this as bolts, so metal, I want bolts on it. So I'm going to offset this line here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this, Shift D to duplicate it. That gives us a curve. And then I'm just going to put a little, again, like we're at like 0.2 millimeters here. This is just not gonna. It's just not gonna show, but I'm gonna do it anyway because it makes me feel better. So if we select this and then we do a curve array. It's like that curve we just made. We can add all this cool detail for. How many do you think we should go for? Again, it's small, isn't it? So, yeah, that's a good point. I need to have this at the start of the curve, otherwise they'll not be even on both sides when you do an even number of instances on the curve. Yeah. Just go for that. And then I'm actually going to get rid of these bottom ones because they'll kind of overhang anyway. Select all of those and join them together. And then do I want to join that to the main body? I don't know if I do, but let's just go for it. And then let's put a cross brace across here. Should have stolen this nut, this bolt. But what I can do is I can select the faces, do Shift D, bring it up to here. Now that's going to be just a face because I just selected those front faces, so it's not solid. But if we do a Shift J on the back to patch it, then that gives us a solid. And then we now have a new bolt. So what we can do is do a rectangular array and just do a few across like that. Middle to be here from this. There we go. And then we can actually just duplicate this to give us another one down there like that. And then can we just duplicate this again, rotate on the Y 90. How long have I been in this industry? Well, I don't know if I'd say I'm in the industry, but I've been designing in Plasticity for 18 months. But obviously all my stuff's on MakerWorld. I'm more, well, I mean, end of the day, it is my job. It is what I do, like through Patreon and MakerWorld and stuff like that. That's what I actually do. So I suppose it is my industry in some way. I just feel a bit, it's that imposter syndrome thing, isn't it? You know, and you're like, somebody says, you just think, yeah, well, I'm not a professional. I'm not a professional. But I suppose lots of people would say the exact opposite. But yeah, I don't like, I don't work for a company or anything. It's just me. But yeah, I did a challenge to myself. Ooh, I say 18 months ago, probably longer now, to be fair. Where I basically wanted to scrub up on my skills a little bit. I'd always been doing 3D modeling ever since I got a 3D printer years and years and years ago. So I said to myself, right, you're self-employed anyway, got the time, do a design a day. And I did that solidly for 18 months. You can see all of the designs on my MakerWorld profile. And it just stuck with me, and I've kept on doing it. And then obviously people like the designs, and now this is what I do. Like I still do a design a day. However, I do a design a day Monday to Friday. I don't now do weekends, because as much as I enjoyed doing a design a day, it got to the point where I was like going on a holiday, something like that, you know, like going away on vacation. And I'll be like, right, well, I need to keep it up. I need to keep up that I'm doing a design a day. So I would, like, you know, be working weeks in advance to get designs done in those instances. It just wasn't very healthy. But I would never take it back, because it's why I get to do what I do, and it's why skills got much better. Not that I'm the best modeler in the world. I mean, goodness me, you didn't take long looking on Instagram, on YouTube, to find far, far, far better modelers than me. But people like the designs, and that makes me happy. Ultimately, it's all you really want in it. If you can be happy, because I've done some rubbish jobs in the past. So I think that probably works as a door. So let me get a bit of coffee, bit of caffeine to keep the fuel going. So let's break out. Man, that looks so much better than it did at the beginning. I wish I had... I should have saved a backup, shouldn't I? So we could have like compared, but that looks so much better than it did initially. And also changing the scale. The scale really, I think that really helps with this. Actually, we need to bring the instances back in for the tower that holds the observatory. So good. I'm going to actually realize these instances, because I don't think there's going to be any further done to those. So F, realize instances, and then let's click this. Right, so all of these here. Right. Can they all be joined together as one? Do they intersect? They do. Great. Now, next is we need, well, these stairs for a start. We don't need all the stairs as going down as far as that, do we? Just going to add some chamfers and stuff in just to give the... so the idea is obviously that this is like sitting on a rocky outcrop. Unfortunately, at the moment, it looks like it's sitting on a PlayStation 1 polygon model. That's fine. It's, you know, we're not done. What's better for modeling, Blender or Plasticity? I'm going to say Plasticity, but there's no better tool. Every tool's different. Every tool has different strengths. Blender's an incredible renderer. Blender's really got, Blender's got modeling, it's got voxel modeling in, it's got animation tools. I just find the workflow of modeling in Plasticity much more immediate. I personally have modeled in Blender, but I just find it can sometimes be, I don't want to say that like it's hard, because they're all difficult at the start, but I just click better with Plasticity. It's more immediate. I would say Blender's more powerful, but ultimately Blender's more of an industry standard at the moment. But I have to be honest, I do think a lot of people are waking up to Plasticity. But yeah, neither's better, but I prefer Plasticity. But ultimately, if you want to do renders, if you want to do animation, if you want to do, you can produce whole movies in Blender. I mean, there was a really, really good, there was a film came out last year. I think it actually won, the special effects Oscar, Flow, I think it's called, with a black cat. I have a black cat, so I have no idea how I've not watched that film, because it'll be for me. That entire film was made in Blender. Couldn't do that in Plasticity. But yeah. Lots of different strings to each of them. So, now, I think I probably need, I just add a little bit of detail on this door here. But there's not going to be a need for a massive amount of detail on this observatory. Because as I say, I mean, how tall is this? It's 2 centimeters. So it's not like it's tiny, but I'm just gonna do some. It's actually its own thing. Can I break this away to isolate it? Right. I'm just going to add in a little bit of like surface texture. Some lines, which will read a little bit like bricks, he says. Radial array of these lines. Oh, another thing I wish is that there was, when you do an isoparam, I wish there was a way to have it break outside. Oh, actually, this is why talking's so good. I wonder, so what happens here if I do this? Because what I'm effectively wanting here now is loads of isoparams in this direction, like up and down like this. And because I've made these splits this way, you're locked into this face. So you would have to do each face individually, which seems a bit of a pain in the backside. So I'm just making lines to do a radial array. I think I want more than that. I'm making lines to do a radial array that I can then just project on, and then it'll give us lots of little like squares that we can then just push some out, pull some in. Yeah. So it looks completely done it right. Not done the right projection there. So Shift I to imprint, and then is it normal I want? Yeah, it's normal. So then we could just grab some random faces, pull them out. Grab some random faces, push them in. Except if you select the same ones again. Given combination of reference entities is currently not supported. Weird. What if I just had too many selected on two? Yeah, too gross an angle, so it can't. Tries to calculate the average between them. Yeah, it's when they touch on the corners. See, this is an example of somewhere where in Blender, you probably just unwrap the face and add a displacement map rather than physically modeling them, these little bricks. That's not how Plasticity is a NURBS modeler. It's not like Blender. But they're all, as I say, they've all got their advantages. Who anyone hates Tinkercad? I don't hate Tinkercad. I find it's something that gets recommended a lot to people to start 3D modeling, and I found it actually put me off 3D modeling, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it didn't work for me. Oh, don't want that. It's just about adding a little bit of like tiny bit of detail. And then we can select this and do delete redundant topology, and then it gets rid of all those other lines. So yeah, it just speaks of bricks. Now each of them is, how big is each of these? Probably 0.2 millimeters or something crazy like that. 1 millimeter. So they will show, so that's all right. So then there's this doorway here. I think I might just go a bit cheaty here and do an inset of the face. Pull that in. And then can we offset that face again? Do I want to do this? I'm really, all I'm doing here is just adding like faces and adding shapes to big flat areas, because ultimately the thing with big flat areas is that like that's what makes things look 3D model to me. Like it looks less hands-on. So let's just add in here. Get out of this temporary plane because we don't want it anymore. Pull that in a bit. Cool. So now the bit I'll openly admit I'm avoiding is what I want to do is model some rocks that I can place around here, because this really isn't what I want this base area to look like. All I've done is I've extruded out this shape, and then I've just randomly cut and filleted edges because I just wanted to get a block out of the rocky outcrop that sits at the base. But I do want to model some rocks that I'll plonk down and you can rotate. Let me just go to Chrome. And I'm just going to look at low poly rocks. Just to give myself some, right, yeah, cool. Just to give myself some vibes on what a low poly rock is meant to look like. Right, you know what, I might get a little screenshot of this. Let me get back to Plasticity. I'm going to bring that rock in just as reference. Import. Desktop. Where does it save the pictures of screenshots? I thought it saved it on the desktop. Maybe I didn't actually save it. I didn't. There she blows. Right. So, I'm going to grab everything here. I'm going to group it. And it's going to go in a group that is called Tower. And I'm going to hide it. And the reason I'm going to do that is I want nothing to do with it right now. What I want to do is I want to focus on just modelling some shapes. Just some rocks. And I think ultimately the best way to do it is if we get the line tool, duplicate this as well actually. Rotate on the X90. That just means I can see it from this face too. I'm just going to draw some lines. Great. I'm going to extrude it up. Super great. And then we're going to use a similar technique that what we used when we were doing the crystals on the tower, which is we're going to use this plane from camera here, which press that and now we're locked into this plane and you can just do a line cut, done. And what you've done is you've cut that on and off axis, which I think is going to be really good for this sort of thing. So plane from camera. And then you can start just adding in chamfers. You start to get this much more, it's not organic, that's not the word I'm thinking of, but you know, you've effectively started with just a simple extrusion. Don't like this edge here. This looks a bit weird. So plane from, not from. There. Plane from camera. Plane from camera again. See, it's a little bit like chiseling, isn't it? You're just chiseling away. But I think this is the stuff that just completely gets me into that like zone out phase. Don't like that there. Should really get rid of these curves because God. I suppose really what you're doing is just faceting, aren't you? You're taking the stone. And this face here is ridiculous. It's so straight. That's. See, if I didn't press plane from camera there, so it was trying. If you look when you try to cut, it's trying to do it on the Z-axis. remember seeing a thing with somebody who taught school kids how to 3D model, and said that the number one way you can tell if somebody's going to make it or not is if you can tell they've modelled it from every angle. Like they've actually bothered to look around from every direction. Which I get. But I bet there's loads of game devs that are like, yeah, I don't model a model from every direction because it's not going to get seen from every direction. So should we try a little, rather than all being perfectly, actually I don't want to be on that axis, perfectly straight here, why don't we do an undercut style as well? Yeah, great. I think I might do the same there as well. Now the great thing about doing this rock is that we can just reuse it multiple times, multiple angles, multiple. It's probably why it's actually probably worth, yeah, it will be worth. I've got a flat bottom at the moment and it's not going to need a flat bottom because it's going to interface with the base that already exists. So it's not like it's actually going to print. It's going to print on what's already there. But let's just bring this over here and then let's bring back in the tower. And then I'm going to hide those because I don't feel like I need them now. So this is just going to be a game of duplicating, placing, rotating, scaling. And actually, what I'm going to do as well, I'm just going to take this stone. I'm going to just do some really wild cuts on it just to get a little bit of... I mean, I probably don't need to do this because ultimately all this stone from various angles is going to, and scales, you're not going to really even realise there's one stone there, one design of stone. But two cuts there, and that's entirely different. So, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to rotate this randomly here. So when I'm placing it, I'm not finding myself constantly picking from the same base, like rotation. Right. So let's bring you over here. I knew this was going to take more than 2 streams. I said to myself this morning, I'll have this done today. I won't. But you see how just starting to like place these down, and I mean, because of how plasticity works, you can even just like pull like faces out. Get rid of that because we feel like that now in the way. Yeah, you just start to get more unique. This might take a while to place all these, like I have to admit. Scale them down as well. Actually, let's just try that Control-D placement again. Just select this. So that's quite, it is quite handy because you can place it like that and then you can like drag it down and rotate it, and scale it. And so why don't we just take, I think because you can do that with multiple as well. So if we do Control-D, and then let's select this face here. F to flip, right, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, well, what we'll do is we'll just quickly place some around. because then I can just go around and rotate them. And it's currently the problem, it's a little bit time consuming, you know, grabbing each one and duplicating it. So grab Z. Quite like that sticking out like that, actually. Can I set the to the normal? So then what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll do another, I'll do like another one of those rocks and do effectively the same thing, just dump a load down. And then over time, we'll just end up filling. End up filling the space. Really, I just don't want to have much of this like really flat, obviously, you know, blocked out area visible. I want it to be more like craggy. So all I'm using is G for the grab command and then setting an axis when I'm moving it. Quite good that these have attached on with really weird angles because it makes it dead easy to see which ones I just place down with the place tool. So this is starting to look a bit better over here. So I think I want something in there. Yep, and then bring his face out. Bring Let's be careful not to make it too big on the base. Because ultimately I want the crystal tower part to be the bit that's like most prominent. I wonder if this is viable. Let's just actually grab these, all these here together as one big old lump of brick. See them on the Z. And I'm not too concerned about these sticking out further on the base because I can just chop them off later, which I will be doing. So actually that was a really quick way of getting that done there, wasn't it? So why don't we just kind of go with that a little bit. Not copy another brick from here, but just take just a few examples. Make like a bigger brick, a bigger rock from a smaller rock. So let's just grab these. Shift D. Where do we want to put you? Just looking to fill some spaces, really. Yep. Things start to look a little bit crystalline. That's the only thing that I'm a bit concerned about. It's starting like, I suppose when you print it in a different colour filament though, you'll, I wonder if what we need is some really big rocks. Maybe that helps a little bit. It also kills a lot of birds with one rock when it's absolutely gigantic. Kills a lot of birds with one rock. That's me demonetized for the next 6 months. Not that I'm monetized anyway. Which, by the way, you should like and subscribe to help me. Yeah, this is looking better now. I think adding some more variation in the rock size. It's like bigger around the back, and then these, we definitely need something in there, don't we? Yeah, the smaller ones being more concentrated towards the front gives it more of a like aspect, and then the back where there's not really that need for all the detail, we can go with really quite big ones. Hit Z. Don't worry, I have actually managed to make something that looks too similar to itself there. I think we're getting there. Might add one more big stone around the back here, and then might call it quits for today. So that's coming along. I think in the next stream, maybe get some rocks in there as well. In the next stream, I think what I want to do is I want to do some sort of wall that comes along the stairs, and maybe some sort of like wall here, just to give it like a really, again, it sets scale. And then what I'll have to do is I'll have to start the breakdown of the parts. So for example, this part can probably be one colour. This part I'll make another colour that goes in the middle, but these interface, so I'll have to boolean them away from each other. And I just need to think about how things are going to effectively print, because obviously say that crystal comes through there. So do we print that with this section cut out, or do we print this with the roof cut out? Unlikely based on the overhang, but yeah, but they're the bits that you have to, once I've done the design, I have to really start nailing down. But that's a me thing. That's what I've got to do. So, you know, that's not fun. Sitting watching, like, me cut up models. But ultimately, how many days have we got left in this competition? I think it was 10, wasn't it? Yeah, 10 days. So I've got loads of time. Bearing in mind, when I did the book nook, it was like the day of that I had it submitted, and that had me a bit panicked because it would have been a real shame to put all that work in for that Japanese store book nook, but then not to be in the competition. But you know, it's not. I'm not, as I say, I'm not expecting to win. But my shield, my moment, my bit where I get to try and pay some bills. This is me on MakerWorld, Abstracty Design. I have 647. It's a bit weird. There's not my new models on there. I think it's because it's not. Oh, I've got 657 models on there. All available under a commercial license through joining the commercial membership on MakerWorld, or my preferred thing is Patreon, which is this bit down here. But whatever works for you. 3 tiers. 1 is for a single model. The second is all the models, and the third tier is all the models and the images. So if you want a one-stop shop for your Etsy store or your Shopify store or your local market stall, well, not that you would need images for a market stall, but you know what I mean. You can go for it. It's not very much a month. Please don't steal the models. I get stores taken down every week. MakerWorld scans platforms. They're really, really good for that. They do really right by the creators. So, yeah, I think you should have a little look at the models and see if there's anything you like. I'm a big fan of this lantern, which we designed. Oh no, we didn't actually design this one on stream. I designed this the day after a stream. Really cool, just little wireless lantern that has a base and a little lamp and this optional stand/handle thing. Yeah, really, really like it. Actually got quite a lot of collections that already. That's only been up a day. But I'm just going to scroll, pick a random model. I'm not looking at the monitor that has the things on. Oh, this is a good one. The Minimalist Gothic Cathedral Book Nook lamp. This is a popular one. Really, well, they're all designed in plasticity, to be fair, but yeah, it's like a modern. It was inspired by a Spanish church/cathedral thing that I saw. It was really minimalist and striking. I actually now, if I say that, I don't even know if it was real. It could have just been a nonsense image I saw on Instagram that was reporting to be a cathedral or something in Spain. But yeah, so there's book nooks, there's vases, there's lights, there's all sorts of stuff on there. So have at it. If you want to try selling some stuff, just simply subscribe. And if you've enjoyed the stream and you want to see more of them, I do 3 streams a week. Sometimes longer term things where we do products across multiple streams, like we've been doing with this Mage's tower. And sometimes it's just I'm in and out in a day doing a product, and you get to see it get designed, and then I'll obviously share it on MakerWorld, and I share the renders and the printing of it and stuff on the social channels. So if you like that sort of thing, like and subscribe. Really appreciate it. I've had loads of subscribers over the last like 28 days, which has been really, really good. I've got a bit of a thing that I feel like doing for a next larger project. I don't think I'll go straight from this one into another multi-day model. I think I'll do some more standard products that you see on my MakerWorld page. But I'm playing Resident Evil Requiem at the moment. It's fantastic. And I really think I want to model the Requiem pistol because it's an absolute monster. I'll just see if I can get a picture of it here for you. Resident Evil. I think the pistol is actually called the Requiem. Please don't give me any spoilers. Requiem Magnum. Yeah, this bad boy here. What a monster that is. So I feel like I might want to 3D model this, and it'll take me a few streams. Especially the details, like, you can't really see it there, but it's got like eagle wings on the back of it. Or some sort of wings, I don't know, they're eagles. So I've took some screenshots in the game of it and from the UI and stuff just to get some reference. But Plasticity is a really good hard surface modeler, and this is the definition of hard surface modeling. So I think this could be a really fun thing to model, because all of the body part of it here is very, very hard surface modeling, but then this grip's going to require a lot of surface modeling. So yeah, and I just think it's a really cool gun. So I think I might do that maybe in a couple of weeks' time, just as a longer project. But yeah, after we've done this tower, I'll probably have a week or so of just my more standard products, lamps, vases, planters. So yeah, but just an idea of the type of like variety that we sometimes have. So anyway, I've had a lovely time. Hope you've had a lovely time. And as I said, like and subscribe, feed the algorithm so it can feed me. And all I'll say is have fun. And I will see you next time.